Hello, I'm Carter Katriska, and this is We Are Only Taking What We Need, Welcome to the City of Dreams by Stephanie Powell. Now, with the title and setting of the story, it started in Raleigh, North Carolina, which they started where they moved to in the beginning of the story from her husband, which she left about a week ago. Most of the story takes place in a barren house in a neighborhood. The neighborhood that they move into is an apartment system. The characteristics are from rural area and are not used to be city life, fish out of water. The rural area in which they live in is very small and is fast, and they only have little areas to go and certain commodities that they can stick to. Throughout the story, Stephanie Powell likes to incorporate in her speech the harsh reality that um, the people in the house had to live through, and how they didn't have a lot of money and then they didn't really have anything to do in the house itself, and how they could make everything a little bit more appealing to the audience. The overall plot of the story is Tasha, her younger brother Gary, and her mom Nora move out of their home to start a new life, which I've already talked about. The whole story is talked about through Tasha, which is Ma's daughter and Gary's brother. She is about 7 or 8 years old, very young. Throughout the story, she talks to um, the audience and refers to her dad as daddy and says all these other things, and says how she refers to Gary as her older brother too in the story. And Mama is extremely confident despite them starting from square one, confusing Tasha. Throughout the story, Stephanie Powell also likes to conclude that no matter what situation that Mama is in, that she likes to make light out of everything, to make new beginnings, no matter how much money they have, no matter where they're from, that they can have a new beginning and start out somewhere new. They sleep on the floor and only have what they could fit in the car. And after suddenly leaving the patriarch of the family, the patriarch of the family is the divorce the of Ma and the dad, and that's what made them move out in the first place. Um, the next day, a man that Tasha remembers seeing with Mama before moves out with gifts for the home and his friend. This is basically the whole narrative of the story of how um, the children feel and just feel confused and angry about the family situation, and how they have to see their father every single 2 weeks, and how Reggie, someone that they barely saw with their father, and the situation that they have is starting to come back after the fact and giving them gifts, replenishing stuff that they had in their old life. Um, and also Reggie, um, first time you see Reggie, he comes in with a TV from the old apartment that they used to live in. The furniture less than what she expected, but Mama is happy anyways. Most of the furniture that they have in the house is not the furniture that they wanted. Most of the stuff they have is stuff that they packed very, very, very quick. They barely had any furniture. The furniture that they have is mostly from Reggie helping out. This is this man is Mama's new boyfriend, Reggie. Reggie is Mama's boyfriend. Tasha and Gary bond with the adults and even meet a little girl, but is still feel as if something is missing in their new life of theirs. Even if she's meeting new people in the apartment system, and they're meeting Reggie's new friends and the little girl enemy that they meet, and all of that. The plot count: Tasha pours water on the bed to act out because she felt as if Mama was paying any attention to her. It was too confused. on her life and friends. Soon after, the kid's dad, Calvin, comes to visit. So after all of this and the argument and the overall main shift in the story, this is seen to show that Mama and Reggie had a falling out, and Calvin will come back, and that's exactly what happens. And soon after, the kid's dad, Calvin, comes to visit. He talks to the kids and asks them how they feel about Reggie. After all of this, he doesn't know how the kids feel after the patriarchy of how they feel it's a patriarchy between the mom and the dad and the living arrangements and everything connected with that. The dad takes the children out to a restaurant and asks them about Reggie and the overall feelings that they have in the story. Dad goes back in the house to meet Reggie before he leaves. With all of this that they're talking about, and with Tasha saying that she doesn't particularly like Reggie, and that Gary is kind of on the side of things. He comes back to the house and ends up beating Reggie. But Tasha ends the story saying she soon lost contact with her mother and would like to rekindle their relationship as friends after all of this that occurred with her father and Reggie and everything else. So the protagonist and the antagonist of the story is Tasha, and the antagonist of the story is Mom. But you could also see in different aspects of the story how they can be misconstrued as an antagonist or a protagonist. In the story, you could also see Reggie as an antagonist and both Tasha and Gary as the protagonists, or you could see the father as a protagonist and the antagonist being the whole opposite family. It's just how you generally pick up how Stephanie Powell is really relating to real life scenarios and how it really connects to real life problems that is really shifted. But yeah. And then the overall theme, one of the major themes in the story is the children being harmed of their parents' actions. Their parents' actions in the end lead to just them feeling completely doubtful of the whole situation. And then I think that Stephanie Powell has done very good in explaining through like a 7-year old's perspective on how she thinks that they're really taking care of this, or how the father is taking care of this. But Tasha doesn't know exactly why her parents split up, but reaps the effects. The effects are seen throughout the story of her leaving in the beginning to go to this new apartment. But the overall happiness in the story changes because of the ending and the surprise of the dad coming back and whipping Reggie. Dad's acts of violence is also an example of him letting his anger show a side of him that he usually wouldn't in front of his children. That is also another good example of showing it. He whooped the father with the children inside the car, if you remembered, which also shows a judgment and character of him not beating them next to the children, showing them and scarring them. And I really think that it concludes more to the overall message, and it kind of makes it more familiar. It makes it more apparent to the audience. And then the library devices, the metaphor and simile, when you're talking about metaphors and similes and take what you need. I don't know why I just put metaphor in. But usually the symbolism in the story is what you take from it. So the overall bigger picture, like what's in the box. So just the connection that Reggie had and the patriarchy that the children had to feel in the family because of the mother and the father, and all of the new arrangements to of the new life, and how also it says in the story the new friends of Reggie and how they would come, how this is new in the story, and how that she writes this down and shows how this isn't apparent to her as a young child. And the subtext of this also reincorporates what can also be deemed as a different message. You could also take this as Reggie was trying to take and do the right thing and be a father figure, which most boyfriends nowadays would want to, but didn't know the overall context and arrangement. So the subtext in that could be that there is no context between him knowing the father's overall intentions from him leaving a week ago and the overall perception about how the children should be treated by their mom and dad, how it should be um, cordial, and how everything should be not rushed like it was, like how they went out in a week. And personally, I like how she writes about everything in this. I like how she writes about her being a mother herself, the struggles of being a mother. She writes about the standpoint of how to understand what she's saying throughout the story, even though it's told through Tasha. The commodity is about Tisha and Gary, and just how they talk about not doing anything and being bored and not really seeing anything is also a really good characteristic that she puts in, and just also writes about life and just the similarities and how the apartment in the story also kind of reflects to the apartments that is kind of more rushed and just no no furniture, no nothing, and then the message and the setting is very relative to most situations that others have to go through. But overall, I think Stephanie Powell did a very good job in how she did her wrote "We Are Only Taking What We Need, Welcome to the City of Dreams," and all the stories connected with it, and also the overall message. Thank you.